What's up, everybody, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to talk to you about the 5 things you should consider before buying a fishing kayak. This is my kayak. Get yourself one. There he is. Yeah! Look at that tank! Fish on! All right, so look, we're gonna jump right into these factors, and I'm gonna keep this video as short but as thorough as I possibly can. So the first factor that I think you should consider when buying a fishing kayak is stability. Actually, before I jump into the reasons, let me quantify this a little bit. I owned a retail shop for several years, so I'm basing all of this information on the things that customers said to me, and I've worked over 500 trade shows in my time in this industry, in this community. So this is a mix of people coming into my shop, me talking to folks on the water, you know, DMs, messages, comments here on the channel and on social media, and all those interactions with anglers at trade shows. Again, this is in order based on the things that anglers ask me about. And I'll tell you where I agree or where sometimes I might have a slightly different personal opinion, but I'm basing this on that experience. So let's jump back into it. Stability. The number one thing that kayak anglers want to know about is stability, okay? How stable is it? And I'll tell you a way to measure that. Especially if you can't try the boat before you buy it, I always recommend to try before buy when you can. But if you can't, do some research on the boat by looking it up on social media, doing Google searches, and look for those images of anglers using that boat. If they can stand in it, it's stable enough, okay? If they can stand in it. So I like to refer to that as stand ability. And I do think you should be able to stand. It makes the boat more comfortable, more versatile. There's a lot of reasons why you should stand to fish. In fact, you guys can go check out my channel. I have several videos on standing and fishing and the benefits of that. But to keep this video short, I'm not going to get into that. But stability is the number one factor that you should consider when buying a fishing kayak. The next one is comfort. Now, I had a cardiac incident 2 years ago to where for the year after that, after having a stent put in my leg, I couldn't stand as much as I wanted to, so I had to sit down. And when you sit down, your comfort factor is based on the seat and the configuration of the seat and how it positions you in the boat. It's more than just the seat itself. It's your leg angle, your height, how it puts you in the boat. So if you can try before you buy, sitting in that boat for an extended period of time is the way to know that. Now, when you can stand in the boat, it increases the comfort factor because when you can change positions, you can stretch your legs, you can stretch your back. In my opinion, you can get away with a little bit less comfortable boat by having a boat that you can stand in, because changing positions and standing up means you don't have to sit in that seat as long. But the number 2 factor that I think you should consider is comfort. Now, the next one is arguably could be interchanged anywhere in the list, but for me, it's rigability. And I don't even think that's really a word, but rigability means the ability to rig the boat for your specific type of fishing. Are you going to use a depth finder? If you're going to use a depth finder, does that boat make adding that depth finder or rigging that boat that way easy, reliable, and something that is that just fits, right? Something that just works. So considering whether you're going to saltwater fish, freshwater fish, do both, river fish, lake fish, whatever type of fishing you're going to do, the boat needs to be able to be rigged for the type of fishing and the components that you're going to put on it. If you're going to put a power pole on it, a boat that's power pole ready is the way to go, because it is a nightmare trying to mount a power pole with all of the different configurations out there on a boat that's not power pole ready. So things like that, major considerations. How do you intend on accessorizing that boat? So rigability is the number 3 factor I think you should consider before buying a fishing kayak. Now, this next one, a lot of people are going to disagree with, and especially manufacturers, because I think a lot of times the manufacturers want to consider this first and then think that all the other stuff is secondary. I can just tell you from my experience, both personally and professionally, and interacting with anglers out there, that this is not the case. And that's why I put this factor at number 4, and that is performance. So I can tell you that there are a ton of kayak anglers out there that would rather have a boat they can stand up in, and a boat that's comfortable, and a boat that's easy to rig than one that paddles well. Now, when I say paddles well, the other thing that you have to consider, and I put this in the performance category, so it's stability, comfort, rigability, and then performance and propulsion, because performance is dependent on the type of propulsion that you're going to use. So if you're going to paddle the boat, you need a boat that paddles well. If you're going to pedal the boat, you need a boat that pedals well. And if you are going to propel the boat with a motor, you need to make sure that the boat's going to perform well when under power for a motor. Now, by and large, if a boat paddles well, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to motor well, because that is a different performance dynamic. A boat that paddles well is a displacement hull, and a boat that pedals or propels well under a motor is a planing hull. We'll get into that in another video, but it's just something that you definitely need to consider how you're going to propel that boat. If you're going to propel that boat with a pedal, by and large, pedal boats arguably perform better with a motor because they're already designed for a different type of propulsion other than being paddled. And so, boat for boat, by and large, a pedal drive boat performs better with a motor on it than a boat whose primary purpose is to be paddled. Now, you're going to say to yourself, well, Chad, we've seen you for years and paddling and motoring, but you very seldom use a pedal drive boat. And to be honest with you, rigability was a big factor in that. So I just purchased my first pedal drive boat ever. It's actually a native Ultimate. And I'm going to play around with that boat because probably my favorite boat of all times was the Wilderness Systems Commander 140. And this is the closest boat that's still on the market. And it is a boat that you can paddle and you can pedal, and I'm going to throw a motor on it and see how it performs. So we'll jump into that in a future video. But performance and propulsion is that fourth factor that I think you should consider. So before I tell you what the last one is, let's do a quick recap. Stability. Standability is the way that I like to refer to it. Comfort, all day comfort. Because if you're miserable, you're not concentrating, you're not focusing, and you're going to pay for it for 3 or 4 or 5 days sometimes if you're in a boat that's not comfortable with how it makes you feel. Rigability. If you can't rig and outfit that boat for the type of fishing that you're doing, what's the point of having a stable comfort boat if you can't set it up for the way that you want to fish? Performance, and again, the first thing you need to consider in the performance category is, are you going to paddle it, pedal it, propel it with a motor, or any two of those three? And that is a factor you have to consider. All right, so the last one, and as soon as I say this, a lot of people are going to be like, well, dude, that definitely should be the first one. And maybe it should, but what I'll say is this last factor should be factored in at every one of the other levels. So meaning get the most stable boat you can get, the most comfortable boat that you can get, the most riggable boat that you can get, and the best performance boat that you can get at affordability. Affordability is that fifth factor. And I get it that, well, man, if I can't afford it, it don't matter how stable it is, whether it's comfortable or if I can rig it or if it performs, blah, blah. So what I'll say is this. I put it last because I think a lot of times people price shop first. And so here's what I'll finish with. I hear this all the time. What's the best fishing kayak that I can buy under $500 that I can stand in? And to me, I always hear that question, and there aren't very many options, if any real good options in that category. And then I hear this one a lot. Hey man, I'm about your size. You're a big old boy. What's the best boat under $500 for somebody like us? And I'm like, well, there really isn't a great boat for somebody like us under $500. The best boat for somebody like us under $500 is a diet, and I'm working on that. But so listen, affordability should be considered after you decide what you want, and then you may have to go to Facebook Marketplace, or you may have to look for a used boat, or you may have to do something to get what you need at the particular price point. But stability, comfort, rigability, performance and propulsion, and then affordability are the 5 things that I think you should consider. Take that affordability factor and factor it in at every level. Get the most bang for the buck that you possibly can. Listen, guys, I know I was missing in action for a while. I broke my hand. I had some other stuff going on. I'm revamping the channel format. Stay tuned for some updates. Appreciate the heck out of all of y'all for tuning in. Love y'all. Hope you had an awesome Thanksgiving. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season. And be sure to be on the lookout for some upcoming giveaways. I got new videos coming. Y'all smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Share my content with other people so I can teach them about kayak fishing, fishing in general. And we're going to juice it up this year with some new types of fishing, a whole bunch of new watercraft. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys like that content. I'm excited. Hope you're excited. I'll see y'all in the next video.
There he is. Yeah! Look at that tank!